Hello everybody. Today's video is going to be a little bit different because you see, usually I'm dishing out opinions, but today I am instead asking a question. Very simple really. Is the BMW M140i destined to become a classic? Or, more controversially, has it already become one? What are the cases for and against? Well, the M140i was the successor to the very popular M135i, the change in model designation denoting the introduction of the B58 engine. A fantastic lump, and on the face of it, one that didn't really offer any significant improvements over the old N55. In fact, there are still plenty out there that have a real lusting for the N54 twin turbocharged lump. The N55, although it had the twin power designation, was in fact a twin scroll single turbo setup. The B58 was an all-new design, and although the headline power figure, 335 brake horsepower, wasn't really radically different to that which had come before, it's the torque that dominates this engine. It has close to 370 pound-foot of it from next to no RPM. If you drive an M135i and then hop in an M140, the difference is staggering. It was, during its own production run, something of an oddball too. A 3-litre straight six is a fairly unusual configuration in any car, let alone in a fairly small hatchback. And that's my first major point for the case of this car as an instant classic. It used to be the case that most manufacturers would have a go at stuffing a reasonably large engine in a pretty small car, but these days that practice has all but gone. In fact, even BMW themselves have stopped doing that, and the new M135i has a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder in it, driving all 4 wheels off of what is essentially the mini platform. So by default, it's actually a front-wheel drive car. BMW purists, of course, decried that the moment that it was announced, and if they want to buy a hatchback which drives the rear wheels, they haven't really got many choice other than to buy one of the old ones. They sold reasonably well, and although one could definitely make an argument that the rear-wheel drive setup BMW used wasn't necessarily ideal for a car of this type, there is no arguing against the effectiveness of that beautiful straight-six engine. It has so much character, so much shove from low down, and it genuinely feels naturally aspirated in its response. It's only the staggering low down torque which gives away the fact that this is in fact a forced induction engine. It was also something of a tuner's delight. That 330-ish horsepower could be boosted to about 430 through a simple remap. These things could be, when they wanted to, savagely fast. They also sound fantastic. Now, this one's recently had the exhaust changed about a bit. No, it hasn't been made louder, it's in fact been made much quieter. This is now pretty much a stock exhaust. When Andrew picked it up, someone had kindly cut out most of the silencers and then gutted one of the remaining ones, so it was nearly straight through. Given the fact he had to get up early in the morning to go to work 5 times a week, he wasn't particularly popular with his neighbours, and he didn't appreciate it either, so he wanted to change that pretty sharpish. For me, the B58 has always sounded much nicer than the equivalent M3 and M4 with their S55 lump. The way they run their exhaust means that they just sound like, well, somebody farting into a tin can. You also have a choice of gearboxes in this car, something that again isn't a given anymore. A 6-speed manual, which is actually very pleasant to use, and this 8-speed ZF gearbox. Although the 8-speed ZF appears in just about everything now, not every manufacturer gets it right. BMW, though, absolutely nailed it. It changes quickly, but smoothly. Very effective. Honestly, in this kind of car, I think a double clutch would be the wrong choice. I know there's loads of people out there who'd want one, but Mercedes have one in the A-Class, and frankly, this is the better gearbox to use. Now, this is all sounding very much like positive stuff, so let's give you a few negative things for the counter-argument. It is a Larry so-and-so. By default, that 370 pound-foot of torque needs to find its way to the road via an axle which is completely free of limited slip differentials. BMW decided not to fit one in the M135 or M140, and that means that, particularly in the wet, they can be a little bit wayward. A few TV programs in the UK famously spinning these two and telling everyone that they were death traps and they were basically undrivable. The fact is that anything with this kind of power needs to be given some respect, but the fitment of a limited slip differential will certainly improve the car's road manners, especially when it's a little bit damp and greasy. They were quite a Larry thing. They wanted a car that was pretty cheap to buy, had lots of power, rear-wheel drive, so they could go out and be stupid. So when you see these, you'll often see them with aforementioned silly exhaust, doing stupid things in a car park to impress their mates. They're also a pretty common car. If you want something that's a little bit unusual, they aren't the car for you, and because they do look to most people like a regular 1 Series, they're never going to stand out. But that has its benefits too. Because they were very popular, there's a brilliant scene around them. You can do all sorts of things. This one has a little carbon fiber lip at the front, which I think really accentuates the look. When it first came out, I really didn't like it at all, but given some time, and I've actually developed a genuine affection for it. It's nice and dry today, and the way this thing gets from 40 to 60 is just hilarious, and this gearbox is just brilliant. I am the sort of person that will often go for a manual when they can get one, but I will not diss anybody that seeks out one of these with the auto. It works so well. No, these paddles aren't the best thing ever, but honestly, I have extremely high standards for the quality of paddles on cars, and very few that I've ever driven have met those standards, so that's not something to discount the car for. It still feels like a reasonably nice car in here too. The fact is that it feels probably much closer to a 4 Series than BMW would care to admit, and I think that's something they're sort of trying to change with the newer cars. BMW go through this cycle. They go and make a small car as an attempt at making something a little bit cheaper. And then they wind up making the small car so well, and with so many parts from their higher end cars, they don't really save any money at all. They did it with the 3 Series Compact, then they did it with the 1 Series, then they did it basically with the 1 Series again, and that I think is why the new 1 Series is being spun off the Mini platform. It's an attempt to try and build their small car a little bit cheaper. Whether it's going to work for them this time or not, I really couldn't say. There is allegedly going to be a new M1, although whether they're going to call it that or not, I don't know. They've shied away from using that moniker in the past simply because the M1 is such an iconic model for BMW. In typical BMW fashion, the steering in these isn't the best. It simply serves a purpose. It's not terrible, but it's nowhere near as fun as that which you got in some of the earlier Minis. Those were an absolute riot to drive. This one, not so much, but part of that I think comes with the sheer performance on tap. You've got to give it so much more respect, so much more of the time, and being a hooligan requires considerably more commitment and concentration than it does in a car with half the power. That really shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Even more good news, they can actually be quite decent on fuel when you're not being a total hooligan with them. And they are reasonably practical. My brother-in-law is 6'4", and he gets in here absolutely fine. There's plenty of room in the back for his baby as well, and there's about enough room in the boot. It's not particularly capacious, but it is usefully larger than the original 1 Series. There's a lot of people out there that would say that simply because they made so many of these cars that becoming a classic is simply something that would never ever be possible. But people have said that about a lot of other cars before that have been very popular, far more popular than these, and yet they've gone on to become classics too. Ultimately, I think it's probably a relatively standard one of these that's going to be worth some money, but it's going to take quite a few years for that to actually happen. The good news is that running one of these needn't be ruinous. There's plenty of decent examples out there with not too many miles on them, and servicing is, well, pretty decent. The prices vary greatly depending on what you need done and who you go to, and it's for that reason that I'm not going to quote any, but I'm pretty sure wherever you are, you've probably got a BMW specialist, and that's another great point about them as well. So there we have it, the M140i. Will it be a classic or will it not? You tell me, because I'd love to know your thoughts on the topic. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.